The Wheat School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by Alberta Grains, C&M Seeds, and Syngenta Canada. Find more episodes of The Wheat School by going to wheatschool.com.
Hi, I'm Bernard Tobin. Welcome to The Wheat School. Today I'm in West Montrose, Ontario, catching up with Marijke Vanderlaan from Syngenta. How are you?
I'm great, Bern.
Well, how can you not be
day.
on a day like today? And you know, we are standing in an amazing wheat field that we're going to look at here. It's a yen field, a yield enhancement network, and we've learned so much about wheat in the last few years from the yen, and you know, maybe we'll start with a point there, Marijke. One of the key things is, you know, what we've learned: heads per square foot. And you know, growers who have high heads get high yield, and it's a lot different story if you're on the other end of that score.
Yeah, for sure. It was really neat just seeing the results from the 2023 yen plots. And a cool thing that they've done is they look at the growers in sort of the bottom 20% participants and top 20%, and there was a difference in yield potential between those growers, but those top 20% growers, they were achieving 80% of their yield potential, and the bottom were around 62% of their yield potential. So big differences. And then you look at the thing that correlated the strongest to high yields is biomass. So the top 20%, 6,000 more pounds of biomass, and about 30 more heads at the end of the day, heads per square foot. So super important that we're looking at that piece of the puzzle here to high yields and understanding how we can then support those higher heads per square foot.
And we need to be looking at it this year and this time of year, because you know, at this time of year we're seeing, you know, the results of, you know, maybe some earlier planting, some real good growth in the fall, lots of tillers, and a lot of stems this time of year.
Yeah, for sure. And this grower here, he got his wheat planted towards the end of September. You know, really good, close to that optimal planting date. He pushed getting his soybeans off so he could get the wheat in the ground. And what we're seeing here today is we're at that growth stage 31, and counting our stems per square foot here, we have about 80. In some of the lower areas, maybe closer to 70, and the higher, there's some higher areas too. So, but on average, probably around 80 stems per square foot. So setting up for huge success here in this field.
And that 80 is an important number, because now we need to talk about plant growth regulators,
for sure.
PGRs, because when we get big stem counts and big growth, we've got tremendous yield potential, but we've got risk.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to lodging. PGRs, Modus is your product. What do you see when you look at this field now and you see that number 80 that you calculated? Yeah,
for sure. So this is an excellent candidate for PGR. I would say, from my experience of doing counts over the last few years since really the use of PGRs in Ontario, is 65 stems, good strong stems. Not every single tiller you count, but those stems that will make a head, 65 stems per square foot plus. Right. That kind of puts you in this ballpark of considering that PGR, and then you would look at, you know, your variety, is it susceptible or not? How much nitrogen are you putting on? Are you feeding for that, you know, 110, 20 plus bushel crop? Other nitrogen in rotation, organic nitrogen, mineralization, do you have that potential? So, yeah, I mean, you look at a field like this, it's easy to drive by and say this is a candidate.
This is a candidate. Now, let's talk about timing. What's the window, Marijke? It's pretty wide, and you know, and you've got some opportunities. Yeah,
for sure. So we always say the beginning of the window is growth stage 30. So that's when the plant switches from tillering to stem elongation, and that's what PGRs are doing. They're impacting the hormone that causes that stem elongation. So 30 is the beginning. The sweet spot, we would say, ends around that growth stage 32, and you can feel 2 nodes, so it's really easy to tell that growth stage. But we see good value up until that flag leaf emergence as well.
And you're at 31 here? 31?
We're just at 31 here, which I was surprised at because it's April 16 today, and last year we didn't hit growth stage 30 until May 1st in this area.
Now, Marijke, beautiful day today. It might be 15, 16 degrees. It's mid-April. You know, temperatures go up and they go down. What about applying a PGR from a temperature perspective? What's the rule of thumb? What do you tell growers?
For sure. Yeah, we definitely want this wheat to be actively growing. To get the most value out of PGR, wheat needs to be growing. So, you know, on the weekend, we see the temperatures dipping down. There's a -1 in this area overnight. So we do look at the forecast and make sure we have those good temperatures coming up. Generally speaking, you're going to put Motus in the tank with something else. And so when you're applying multiple products at the same time, the rule of 3 is a really good rule to sort of go by. So that's, you want the temperatures, the lows to be above 3 degrees Celsius the day before, the day of, and the day after an application. And when it comes to PGR, really the temperatures after are more critical.
Hey, let's talk about that tank. Going back to the tank, we're busy. We're trying to get as many things done, and put it. You know, sometimes we put more than one in the tank when it comes to herbicides and fungicides. How does a PGR play in the sandbox? Shall we say?
Yeah, for sure. So PGRs, fungicides, herbicides, they all have surfactant built into the formulation. And really one product has enough surfactant to get the job done. So when we're putting multiple things in the tank, we want to make sure we up our water volume. So 20 gallons per acre is critical to cut that surfactant down. The other piece to keep in mind is that when the wheat is actively growing, like it has been, like this wheat's at growth stage 31, that new tissue emerging is going to be more susceptible to that surfactant piece. So that's something to keep in mind. It's not just low temperatures we're concerned about, it's also that rapid growth and the thickness of the cuticle. So it's a conversation to have with your agronomist, your retail rep, you know, the folks that you talk to on a regular basis to just make sure, you know, am I good to go? But generally speaking, if it's a tank mix you've done in the past, you know, and you're comfortable with that, then you know, you're probably good to go. And a little bit of that, you know, crop response from the surfactant at this stage does not impact yield, is what the research has shown.
Hey, final question. That is, you're going to be talking to a lot of growers over the next couple of weeks. They're going to be asking questions about PGRs. What you're seeing here, you know, what do you take away from this? And you know, when you go to talk to growers over the next couple of weeks, I know you got some tips.
Yeah, I guess one tip is I would say, you know, this is at 31, but don't stress out that I got to get to that field right now and get it done. There is time. There is a good window here, you know, a couple weeks to get that growth regulator on up to that flag leaf emergence. So yeah, we got time to do it. Watch the weather. And get out there and know what your stems are per square foot. I think that's just a great thing to get out there and do right now. And so in 7.5 inch
so you've got a little, show us what you got.
I got a little tiny tape measure that can fit in my pocket, but you want to measure 19.2 inches of row, and that is the equivalent to a square foot. So little tape measure is all you need, 19.2 inches. Then you get your a handle on what kind of stems, strong stems per square foot you have and what you're working with.
Awesome. Well, Marijke, hey, some great insight in a great wheat field. Thanks for taking some time for Real Agriculture, the Wheat School. We'll see you during the summer.
For sure. Sounds good. Thanks, Bern.